We had a little healing here, honey.
Yeah, we
Thank you
did.
for this.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much. It's just, wow, what you do is phenomenal. And I can't wait for other people to see this episode so that they too can feel the way I do right now. It's a real cleansing.
Welcome to Season 6 of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, where we speak the language of cannabis freely and uncensored while educating our audience on safe use of this live plant therapy. You should know what's in your cannabis, what's good and what's not, because cannabis does not come with an FDA stamp of approval, yet. The information you will find here comes straight from scientists and clinicians doing the work and reporting their findings in reputable outlets. Hopefully, we can inspire you to research the facts as we know them today. Cannabis is an amazing alternative in health remedies, with the potential to alleviate typical disease problems and troubling side effects, even those caused by synthetic prescriptions. Here now is the host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast. She is a 21st century cannabis shaman, not a doctor, not a scientist. Raised by nuns and wolves in the verdant cattle pastures of the Oklahoma oil fields, here to amplify the truth of this great big story of cannabis in historical, political, scientific, and spiritual terms, so you can make educated decisions about the medicine you choose to ingest. Please welcome Honey Smith Walls.
There we go. Dr. Tanya English, welcome back to the Cannabis Truth Podcast. I'm so delighted that you're here to help us just discuss womaning on this planet and all of the ways that you help women discover themselves and their autonomy and their health, recoup their health.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Welcome. So glad that you're here. I don't live without my chiropractor these days. At 70, I want to make sure my spine is aligned and, I'm able to walk and balance as well as possible.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When we do that, it's amazing what can happen when we actually take care of ourselves. One of the things that people say, you can't you can't enjoy anything if you don't have your health. And preventative health isn't just having tests done. Preventative health care is actually removing interference from your nervous system so that you can actually do all the things that your metabolism needs to do, that your body needs to do, without interference in that communication network. So we communicate through our nervous systems, and our body communicates with itself through the nervous system. So the whole idea of chiropractic back there in the 1880s, when there was a huge renaissance of thought happening, that's when osteopathy happened. That's when chiropractic happened. That's when they started making breakfast food. Before it was you just ate what was left over. There wasn't like the specific food for breakfast. But then Kellogg came along. So D.D. Palmer did the first chiropractic adjustment. And what he was doing after spending time going all around the world, learning all different kinds of things, he was like, if we could just move the bones so that they're not pressing on nerves, that would be really good, right? You want to have no interference. It's like having static on the radio. You can't listen to your favorite song if it's coming through static. So you dial it in so it's very clear. That's what we do as chiropractors. We remove interference so that the body can heal, because it has the ability to heal.
It's an amazing concept, I think.
I know, and it's been around for so long. And it's so funny because, people have a bad rap on it from the past because there was a group in the AMA called the Committee on Quackery, and they were out to kill off anybody that was going to take their market share.
The Committee on Quackery?
Yeah. So they spread lies, they spread untruths, they put chiropractors in jail for practicing medicine without a license, even though they weren't practicing medicine. They did all kinds of things. And then the people in jail would start adjusting the jailers and people in the jail. And so they would have these experiences of healing. So, you got to think about the experience that people have had where they listen to gossip and rumor and they base their opinions on what they're going to do on that. Because I've had people say to my face, well, I don't believe in chiropractic. And I'm like, well, I'm not a fairy. I mean, do you like putting a stone on your hose if you're trying to water your plants?
I'm sorry, but that's such a great comeback. And I've heard the same thing. I've got an old lady friend that won't even come to a chiropractic appointment with me where it's out in an open room.
Yeah.
Everybody can see.
Right.
But she won't even come. She is so afraid.
Because she listened to rumor and she listened to gossip.
And she won't listen to anything else because she has conditioned herself to believe that one thing.
Well, if you listen to Fox News for, all week, you'll start thinking the way that those people think. If you think to CNN, you'll think the way that the pundits and the opinion makers.
Right.
But if you watch like PBS News, you're just getting news.
May I tell you a little story about chiropractics that changed my life?
Sure. I love those stories because I can share my
Yes, and please do carry this one on forward. My baby was born after 14 hours of battering on my pubic bone. And he had a head the shape of a football by the time he came out. I took him home a few hours later because I wasn't going to stay in the hospital. And he would clamp on to my breast and try to nurse. But when he wasn't nursing, he would clench his fist and just scream bloody murder.
Yep.
And turn red in the face. He barely had a peeing diaper. He had no poopy diapers for the first 7 days. And my sister, who was an RN and midwife, said, "Come on, get up. We're going to the doctor." And she didn't tell me it was a pediatric chiropractor, which I'd never even heard of. And we went in and he puts the baby on his great big hand and he goes like this down his back and goes, and the baby goes, "Wah!" And so did I, because I was horrified that he had hurt my baby, and suddenly the baby stopped crying.
Yes.
The baby peed. And he said, "Bring him back tomorrow." Tomorrow, next thing, next day, same thing. And third day, same thing. And he told me, I couldn't tell you this the first day, but apparently through birth canal, he pinched that nerve and it was, he slipped a disc and it was suffocating.
Well, you try cramming your head through a 10-centimeter hole. It's going to cause a problem.
He had pimply rash all over his body and no first, mucosa poop or anything for 7 days. He was not able to eliminate his waste, and it was coming out of his skin.
This is what happens when people listen to something that has nothing to do with anything. Do you want to have interference in your nervous system that's communicating with every organ in your body? I think so. You would like to have that interference dissolved or removed.
Exactly.
And the thing that about chiropractic is it's so conservative. We don't add anything. We don't take anything away.
Not only that, if I had not had my sister help me make that decision, I would have taken him to a doctor who would have put him in surgery.
Yep.
They would have opened my baby up on the 7th day. And
how is he now?
Yeah.
How is he now?
He's perfect. He's a 47, 48-year-old man named Babe, and he's wonderful. He's got 4 kids and me to take care of.
Yeah, and in our house, we never had ear infections. The kids didn't get sick. The first time my son threw up, he said, "What was that?" So that was your body getting rid of something that it doesn't want.
Right. Wow.
It happened to be rabbit-shaped pasta.
Oh.
So I don't eat that anymore. But, when you look at it like that and you say, okay, so something's not correct here.
Yeah.
And the birth process is pretty violent.
Yeah, it is.
And it's pretty much, the whole idea of having a natural birth is so that those plates on the cranium come together in such a way that they're formed correctly. So when you're saying his head was shaped like a football, that's a good indicator that there's something that needs to be corrected. I adjusted many, many babies, and it's amazing what can happen when you give babies what they need right at the beginning. You're avoiding so many problems. Like I said, we never had ear infections in our house. Never.
Well, I didn't use chiropractics as well as I should have throughout my life after that event. But, I just didn't prioritize that for myself.
It's funny. I hear people say that, and they also, there's the joke, how often do you have to go to the chiropractor? Well, you go once, you have to go forever. But it's like brushing your teeth. Are you going to eat again? Are you going to have stress in your life again?
Right.
Of course you are. And when you have stress, it's good to go get checked and make sure everything is running the way it's supposed to. And just because you don't think that you should have to handle things differently doesn't mean you don't need assistance doing that.
Right.
I don't adjust myself.
Right.
I have someone else do that.
Yeah. I know a lot of
assistance.
people don't like some stranger's hands on them, right? My husband didn't care for massage.
Well, here's the thing. People that have a problem with that usually have some trauma that happened in their childhood that makes them like that.
Of course he did.
And so when you avoid dealing with the trauma, you're going to end up living with it for the rest of your life. So a lot of what I do in my practice is work on the subconscious emotional memories that are overriding present time. So an emotional memory that goes in with intense emotion or chronically over and over again can become a subconscious physiological pattern that the body does automatically, and you're not aware of it because it's subconscious.
Right.
So for instance, every time somebody says, goes to rub his shoulders and he scrunches away from them, his body is memorized what happened
at touch.
He's having that experience over and over again.
Oh, that's so painful to hear.
It is painful. It's
sad.
painful for the person, and it's painful that people don't realize that that's a normal thing that human beings do. We put things in the subconscious without knowing we're doing it because do you have all the coping mechanisms or ideas or strategies when you're 0 to 6 years old? No, you don't.
No.
What you do from 0 to 6 years old is mimic the caregivers around you.
Right.
What if they're not right?
Yeah.
What if they're ill? What if they're mentally ill?
Right.
What if they're physically ill? What if they're spiritually ill? These are all aspects of our being.
Yes.
And I call it the four-legged chair of health. It's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. If you leave off any one of those, your chair is not stable.
Oh, that's the truth of it.
Yeah, so when people have these emotional reactions that they don't understand why they're having them, it's because something happened from 0 to 6 usually. Sometimes it's later. Obviously, lots of things happen to us later in life. But that 0 to 6, what are we doing?
Everybody needs inner child healing.
Hi, Honey Smith Walls here. I'm host of the Cannabis Truth Podcast, weekly for the past 6 years. But today I'm inviting you to a Facebook group called the Holistic Relief Summit, in hopes that you too will come for the peace and stay for the epiphanies. It's a beautiful space for women to find all kinds of relief from all kinds of suffering. Come join us for free.
Well, hello, I'm Dr. Philip Blair, and I want to introduce you to Honey Smith Walls. And she recently had an experience with beta-caryophyllene.
I was gobsmacked, absolutely gobsmacked. So I had terrible, terrible arthritis, still do, in my hands and my feet. Have some serious neuropathy in my fingertips that had been awakening me every hour on the hour all night long for months.
all I could think about was pain, 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 pain. And so my personality, this girl had completely disappeared. Next thing you know, I find out about your product.
Right.
And what beta-caryophyllene can really do. Within minutes of taking my first dose, I could feel the sadness just lifting.
I've
Everybody
never found
does.
a single human being that did not need inner child healing.
It's
We don't teach that at all from ages 0 to 6.
no, and there are some parents that are doing much more mindful stuff now.
Yeah.
And they understand, like, I need to let them have their feeling instead of telling them. I mean, how many people have heard, oh, don't cry about it. Okay, so my feelings, that's the signal. My feelings don't matter. My feelings don't matter. Don't cry. Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad. What if it's like appropriate to feel bad because something negative happened?
Right.
That's an appropriate response. But if you're told not to, as a child, and it can happen in utero. What if your mother is stuffing her feelings all the time? It happens. This is the human experience. It's not a fault. It's just how we are. And so when you stop judging yourself about it and actually deal with it, that's a whole different ballgame, because now there's a huge amount of freedom that comes with that. And that response ability, the ability to respond to what's happened in the past, isn't a huge burden. It's light. You feel lighter. People come up off my table here and they say, I feel so much lighter, because they don't have all those physiological patterns running their body without their knowledge, just running ad nauseum. I've cleared people that have stuff happened to them when they were 3 years old, when they were 1 year old, before they were born in utero, all the way up until last year or the other day. It doesn't matter when it happens, but the point is to allow yourself to acknowledge, own, and honor your feelings, especially if they're negative. Hi, cutie. Especially if they're negative, because those negative feelings are the ones that keep us stuck in our stuff and in our story. And
We don't know that we can stop that recurring negative thought.
That's my job.
Do that.
That's my purpose here on earth, is to tell people you have power you haven't even used yet, and let me show you just a little bit of what you can do that will change everything. So that's why my practice is called Quantum Healing International, because quantum healing changes one little thing and it changes everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty powerful word, quantum. I love that.
So a quantum leap, when we're talking about atoms, a quantum leap is an electron moving from one area of probability to another area of probability around the nucleus. And when that happens, it changes the element. Now it's a different element.
Oh my.
So when we do that with ourselves, when we change our experience by acknowledging, owning, and honoring it, instead of judging ourselves as being less than because we have this negative feeling, then we can really do something with that. I just had a patient in here who had never done emotional freedom technique, which is one of the techniques I use. It's the tapping technique, tapping. And I said, boy, your body's showing that you need EFT today. And he goes, what's that? So I had to teach him. I'm like, do what I do and say what I say. I said, what's upsetting you lately? He said, politics. I'm like, yeah, that's true for a lot of people. How do you feel about that? He said, I feel angry about it. Angry and upset. And I said, okay, let's tap. I'm so angry. I'm so upset. I can't believe I have to live in this country with this going on. I mean, we go through all of that. And then at the end, and I acknowledge my feelings. I own my feelings. I honor my feelings. I said, okay, now take a deep breath and tell me, think about politics again. How does it feel now? He goes, well, I feel a little more together about it. Like, it's not upsetting me. Like, exactly. Can you do better work when you're upset or when you're not upset? He said, when I'm not upset. That's right, because when you're in fight or flight response, and that's what tapping does, that's just one of the techniques I use, because it's easy to do in this little box that we have here. But when I'm working one-on-one with people, I'm using other techniques that go deep into what is the emotional thing that's happening for them. And so,
what kind of techniques? What kind of techniques?
They're all quantum healing techniques except for activator. I do activator technique. This is the adjusting that I do. It's very
I've had that used.
It's very specific and it's very fast, and the patient doesn't need to be twisted and jumped on and have twisted off your neck. Right?
Yeah.
So when I'm doing bioenergetic synchronization technique, for instance, or I'm doing emotional freedom technique, or I'm doing emotion code, or I'm doing theta healing, all of these techniques are techniques that use the normal physiology, the power of that to heal, because we have that. But we don't have an immune system when we're in fight or flight. The immune system is shut off in fight or flight. Digestion is shut off in fight or flight, because when you're in fight or flight, you want all the blood in your body to go to your large muscle groups, your arms and your legs, so you can run away from danger or stay and fight. But when you're in rest, digest, and heal, all the blood is going to your innards to move the food around, to get nutrients where they need to go and waste products where they need to go. And so what's happening is when you're in fight or flight and all the blood is out here, you're not getting good thought blood. You're not getting all of that. My kids make fun of me when I get angry because I couldn't speak right. I'd say things wrong and I'd get emotionally upset and I couldn't,
it's like not enough oxygen to the brain.
I can't do it. I can't say what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
I'm just really mad. So it helps not to do that, but
that's a great example of how your body shuts down when you're angry.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot make a good decision. You can't be creative. Forget that.
Right.
Now, people will argue about that, I'm sure, and they're probably artists because they get angry. Everybody gets angry. But the fact is that you actually don't have the capacity to think and to do and to create when you're in fight or flight response, because your body is in survival mode.
And you're in fight or flight response when you're watching politics and being angry over it.
Yeah.
Or anything.
Anything.
Afraid.
We were doing a talk yesterday about I have a new book that's just come out. I'll put a link in here for people to see. It's called,
thank you.
It's called Resilient AF, Volume 2.
Love it.
There's just a little link there. You can buy the book there.
Fantastic.
I'm one of the authors of that book, and we were doing a talk yesterday at church in Spirit School about it, and somebody said, what do you do when you have all this self-righteous anger? And I said, well, it's very powerful and it can move you to do things, but you want to remember that the thing that you hate about that person, you hate it because you have it too. Yourself. So one of my mentors used to say, observe and make a decision for yourself. Observe and make a decision for yourself. It's not about judging, because we can go very far in judging other people.
Sure can.
But if you observe and go, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Learning from other people's mistakes is much easier than learning from your own. Although, as I told my son when he was growing up, you're going to have to make your own mistakes too, because that will be the only way that you can learn the lesson. But you can watch your older sisters make mistakes and say, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
And he did. He learned. But he also made his own mistakes too. So when we're looking at somebody that's pissing us off, think about what that means. Being pissed off, if that's the way we were. That can cause problems for you in cystitis, right? In bladder control, being pissed off. It's really true. Everything that you're thinking about yourself has a spiritual cause, and you can change your thinking about it. So, for instance, I use this book. I'll show it to you because I use it a lot. And it's great because it has affirmations for all kinds of things. And it's Louise Hay's book, Heal Your Body.
Oh, Louise Hay, isn't she amazing?
So in this book, it'll have the problem. It'll say at the top, I'll show you the top page. So it says, what's the problem? What's the probable cause? And what's the new thought pattern? That's the affirmation.
Oh, wow.
So I use this with my clients and my patients because I want to test them to see if the affirmation will be true. Because you can say an affirmation and in the back of your mind, you're going, yeah, right, that's not true.
That's true.
So we want to clear any subconscious gunk that's in the way of that affirmation being true. So, for instance, let's go to, I was just talking about cystitis because that's a problem for a lot of women.
Uh-huh.
Right? Hang on. Okay, so the so the probable cause of cystitis, anxiety, holding on to old ideas, fear of letting go, being pissed off.
Oh my goodness.
Here's the affirmation, and I'll say it slowly in case anybody wants to write this down.
Awesome.
I comfortably and easily release the old and welcome the new in my life. I am safe.
And breathe it out.
And so if I muscle test the person and I say, I comfortably and easily release the old, boom, their arm goes down, that means that they're not congruent with that. So then we clear what the subconscious is doing when I say, uncomfortably and easily release the old.
By the way, I want you to know that the few times you and I were together,
Mm-hmm.
You were talking about tapping, and I have been using that technique ever since,
Good.
daily if I needed it. And it so helps. It's just amazing to bring you back into focus and peace.
So imagine what that would be like when you and I are working one-on-one, and everybody that's listening, working one-on-one on exactly what's causing the problem for you. It's very powerful.
Right.
And when we do theta healing along with that, and when we release the obligations, we release these beliefs that no longer serve, like it's a sin for me to love others. We have these things that have been handed down through generations, through lifetimes. It's not necessary that you believe in past lives. Sometimes this is the way it shows up. Now, there are a lot of people that would say, well, that's not Christian to believe in a past life. I'm like,
I'm not Christian.
I know one person that came back from the dead. I mean, we get one life. That's what we know for sure.
Yeah.
We have this one life. That's okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff we don't know, and it's okay. It's okay for us not to know.
Can you tell us how to get to theta in our mind?
Well, theta healing is about being in the presence of source energy of creator. And so what we do is go up to the seventh plane, command and request that creator do this, this, and this. Clear this up for this person. And so I can't really, let me think. Let me see what creator has for me about that. Okay, so let's say there's women watching this that can't have the relationship that they want because their partner isn't willing to go there with them. It happens a lot, right?
It's a lot.
Yeah. And let's say that women feel that they're responsible for that happening.
Of course.
So what if we remove the obligation to feel responsible for other people's feelings? Would that be okay?
It is such a freedom.
So we can do that right now. Anybody that's watching this. So if you want me to do that for you right now, to clear the obligation for you to be responsible for other people's feelings, just say yes out loud. I don't care if you're watching the replay. It doesn't matter.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
I'll go clear that. Okay, imagine that you're standing behind a waterfall, that you walk through the waterfall, let it rinse you off, step down into the pool below, walk or swim across, climb out on a rock, sit in the sun, and it's cleared.
I've been there for real at Canaima Falls in Venezuela. The waterfalls we went behind and swam out, stepped into a pool. It was such a beautiful, relieving feeling, and I could feel it again just now. My innards got tickled.
Yay! That's awesome. How does it feel when you think about being obligated to be responsible for other people's feelings?
I don't feel that now. I'm like thinking, oh, they're in a different area than I am.
So we all have our path.
Right.
My path is different from your path. We come together sometimes. Now we're walking together on this path, and it's beautiful. But if we're on our own path, sometimes they're going to veer off in other directions, and that's okay too. But I would say to parents, make sure you understand that your kids are not on your path. They're on their own path.
That's right. They are.
Give them that.
It's not about control. It's about teaching.
It's about leading them.
Helping
service.
Guiding them into a world where they can be of service.
This is why I talk about Jesus, because he was a servant leader. He washed his followers' feet. This is an example of what we're talking about with leadership. That's what
servant leader
Judy was talking about too when she did that address at the inauguration. Have mercy on people. We have to have that. What do you want? Do you want mercy?
Yes, of course. Oh, Tanya, this has been we had a little healing here, honey.
Yeah,
Thank
we did.
you for this.
You're so welcome.
Thank you so much. It's just, wow, what you do is phenomenal. And I can't wait for other people to see this episode so that they too can feel the way I do right now. It's a real cleansing. It's going through that waterfall and feeling marvelous.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you've actually done that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. No kidding. It is. And it was great to really see it and feel it as I was going through it. But for this reason, that's what these little healings are like. They're magical, and they address all of these inner child issues that we have. So I'm just thrilled.
I put my website in the chat. I'm glad that you feel that way. It's really interesting because people think that this is such a woo-woo thing. I really hate that term because it means that you don't understand it very well. Because this is not based on something I thought of. This is not based on my thought. It's based on what was given to me. And the science behind it is real. So I can give you studies about energy. And there's a wonderful book called, there's a great book, Energy Medicine by Oshman, that's a review of the literature. It's all stuff that's already been done. It's all been done. It seems like magic, but we all know that in quantum physics, which is the physics of living systems, that the observer changes what's observed. Can't do a double-blind study in quantum.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
So if people are saying this isn't scientific, they don't understand science.
And that's key to our lack of understanding. We don't understand science. We don't have the fundamentals about how our own body and our own spirit works.
Here's what I tell people. If you could only own a television by telling me how it worked, how many people do you know would own a television? Not that many.
Not that many.
And all I do is push a button and it turns on and there's people in there. How do they get the people in there? What are we doing to create that? It's a flat screen now, so
Right.
what are the pixels? How does that work? This is what I mean. You don't have to understand everything. In fact, lean not on your own understanding. It says that a lot. Don't lean on your own understanding. Let yourself be open to the information coming to you.
That's another issue with women. We don't trust the information. Well, men too. We, as an American society, we don't trust the information because we've been lied to for so long.
Well, yeah, and the fact is that if you do listen to actual news outlets and not opinion outlets, you'll get a lot more information, and then you can make an informed opinion about something. It's really important for people to understand that what they're being told over and over again may not be true. And all you have to do, we have it all right here. Just go to Google and ask Google, what's a tariff? How does that really work?
Yeah, right.
Just watch what happens. And there's historical fact. And here's the thing. When people are uneducated and they won't allow themselves to learn, that's sinful.
Seems that way to me too.
When they won't allow themselves to learn, imagine what that would be like.
It would be like a person believing everything that's in their mind. And I say it all the time. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't believe everything you think because it just ain't true.
Yeah, don't believe everything you think.
Yeah, right.
My favorite bumper sticker is, I might be wrong. Like, really? Yeah, I might. It might not be that we go toward the white light when we die.
Yeah, right.
It may not. But I'm going to believe that everything happens to the highest good. And the story that's in the book, Resilient AF Volume 2, is my story, and it talks about how that happened to me. How much time do we have? Because I can give you a short version of it.
Give us a short, and then we got to scoot, but thank you. Give us a short.
In 1994, I was finishing up chiropractic college. I was taking 40 credit hours. Now, a normal full load is 12. I was taking 40. I was there all the time trying to get my numbers done. And because you had to have a certain number of patient visits, I failed a toxicology exam by 1 point. And so they kicked me out of clinic. I had to stay for a whole nother trimester just to do that class.
Oh.
And I was pregnant.
Oh.
And when I went to have the baby was stillborn.
Oh, honey.
And so I had to make a decision about whether I really believed everything happens to the highest good or not, because it wasn't good. So in the book, you can read my story about that. It's pretty amazing all the things that happened as a result. So to me, Eddie's birth and death were not a tragedy. They were a huge blessing that changed my life in a really good way. And it kept changing my life over and over and over again. So when I talk about being resilient, I know about it. I
guess you do, dear heart. My goodness, what?
I had another child. He's going to be 29 in a week or two. And I can't even believe that. Oh my God.
They grow really fast.
How can I have a 29-year-old when I'm only 25?
See, exactly. I know. And mine's 48. What?
I know. That's bizarre. So I'm really glad that you invited me to come talk with you today. And I'm happy to come back anytime.
Oh, wonderful, because we've got a lot going on. I'm so glad we're in the same circle, darling, and that you and I are on the same mission to help women lift themselves in, their own autonomy and freedom and their own world, nutritionally and spiritually and however
emotionally and mentally and physically.
All of it, yes. And to learn, just how to exist on this planet in less suffering.
Oh, I want to also mention I'm doing a live in-person workshop here in Coralville, Iowa. If you want to come, you can fly into the Eastern Iowa Airport. It's only about 30 minutes away, so it's easy, Cedar Rapids. But it's called True Forgiveness, a chakra, sound, and energy healing workshop. It's an all-day workshop. It's going to be so much fun, and everybody's going to have healing that day.
I hope you'll get a videographer there with a good sound, man. I want to hear those that sound. Or did you say a sound bath?
Yeah, we're doing sound healing. My friend Alma Drake, who is a wonderful, amazing musician, she and I write songs together for my band. And that's right, because I have a blues band, by the way.
That's right. And I just went to your Facebook, blues band Facebook page.
Yeah, the Tanya English Band is that. And then Healing with the Blues is healing pages. And there's a group Healing with the Blues as well that you can join.
Good.
And the Tanya English Band is the band. So if you want to come to Iowa,
what's your genre?
We'll show you a good time.
I know you will. I can't wait. What's your genre of music?
Blues. All blues. Healing with the Blues.
God.
That's okay. That's okay. We're doing all blues because blues is a healer. It healed me, and it can heal you.
Yeah, of course.
Healing with the blues. That's right, I'm healing with the blues. I've got nothing left to lose. That's why I'm healing with the blues.
Oh, that sounds wonderfully inviting.
Yeah.
Tanya, thank you so much.
March 8th.
March 8th. Okay, great. All right. In Cedar Rapids.
Well, no, that's where the airport is.
Oh.
We'll be in Coralville.
In Coralville. Okay, great.
Built on coral beds from the Devonian era. That's why it's called.
Oh, my.
Yeah, there's a coral in my backyard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fossils. Where the woolly mammoths are hidden.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Amazing. Isn't it amazing?
So incredible, isn't it? Darling,
thank you.
I love you so much, and I'll see you around in our circles and appreciate you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to another Cannabis Truth Podcast with 21st century cannabis shaman Honey Smith Walls. Using cannabis mindfully as medication is a different concept in Western healthcare philosophy, specifically over the past century. There's a lot to learn and reconsider. The scientific truth of cannabis is finally getting out and is wide open for all to see at respected medical sites like the National Library of Medicine at pubmed.gov and the Journal of American Medical Association at JAMAnetwork.com. We here at the Cannabis Truth Podcast are right there in the thick of it, alongside the titans of medicine, as a fly on the wall. We are not doctors, nor did we go to medical school, but we have taken dozens of private cannabis courses and still engage in continuing education offered by expert cannabis scientists. Over the past few years, we slowly began to see and understand the bigger picture. Now we hear from people all day long about cannabis. It is so important to use verifiably safe products. The process of getting a diagnosis from your family doctor and taking your records to a cannabis specialist can lead you to the correct cannabinoid therapy for your specific issues. Otherwise, you're simply your own guinea pig looking for answers without the foundational knowledge or ability to determine your best strategy. To find a qualified cannabis expert in your area, visit cannabisclinicians.org. This is a national society of cannabis experts. Look for the link in the show notes. Unless otherwise proven by a reputable third-party lab test, please regard all street weed as contaminated. It may do grave harm to a patient with a delicate immune system who already has inflammatory issues like arthritis, IBS, fibromyalgia, or worse. Thank you so much for your time today. I hope you find value and understanding through the conversations you've heard on this podcast.